how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Progress.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight here sipping my right side coffee.
Ah, yes. Nothing like a good cup of right side coffee to start your day.
Yep, and that's how I start my day all the time, with a nice, freshly brewed hot pot of coffee, right side coffee.
And if you are saying, well, that'd be great, Jim, if you told us where we get it. I mean, I don't never saw it in no store. Well, it ain't in no store. It's in our storefront on our website, which is rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. You go there, you'll see the coffee, which is, by the way, medium roast and medium decaf for people who have maybe little issues with blood pressure and stuff, and they can't drink the high octane stuff. We got the decaf. You're covered. But we also have other things, too. We have our creatively designed Daddy's Home T-shirts, baseball hats, and sweatshirts. We've got other things, too, other cups and things like that. Really nice little Christmas mementos, maybe stuff that you might want to stick in some liberal stocking. We would love to have you buy it. Just go to rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. And by the way, where else will you have Juan Jose and the Border Crossers sing this?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
They're nice guys.
They really are. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Juan and the Border Crossers. They look a little nervous nowadays. Whenever I mention the word Tom Homan, they break out into a sweat. I don't know what that's all about. But
I don't either, but, you know, they're good guys, and we'll put in a good word for them. Not that my word means anything, but maybe yours does.
no, mine's worth as much as yours.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're in trouble, guys. Start packing. Anyway, we're just kidding. Really, we have to have you sing again later on in the show. A lot of things going on, of course. You know, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Joe pardoned his son, which was really kind of like no surprise. You know, I knew he was going to do it.
Yeah, but it was the pardon going from 2000,
14.
14?
Yeah.
All
10
the way
years.
to now, 10 years.
Yep.
10 years in in any and all crimes. And I'm sitting there going, you know, he's going to probably go ahead and pardon his brother, pardon himself, pardon the entire crime organization, and he's probably going to reach beyond that because we know the election was stolen. So, and there's been a lot of shenanigans going on that they are going to go after. Pelosi, Schumer, Schiff. How much you want to bet he doesn't start doing a blanket pardon of any and all crimes accused against any of these people?
Well, you know, a lot of people are saying that he's already gone too far with his son. And I think he may have. You know, I was thinking, nobody's talked about this. They've all said, well, you know, this means that if Hunter committed murder over the past 10 years, I mean, he's pardoned. If he robbed a bank, it's pardoned. All these different things. But nobody has said what I think is the obvious. If you commit treason, if he committed treason, is he pardoned?
Well, I was thinking about that today. I don't have it right here, but I guess that calls for a constitutional ruling on that, and it hasn't been done.
So it hasn't been covered, you're saying?
From if I read right, it hasn't been covered. It's been thought about, but never done. And I'm sorry, but that should be done. And but it's a little bit too late now because if Joe even gets word of it, well, do it now. But you know what? I think in treason, in my mind, treasonous acts, you know, if they're found out after the pardon, no matter what,
They're excluded.
it takes all bets off.
Yeah.
And I bet you the American people would go ahead and say, yeah, I think you're right, because right now, you know, the Democrats are still in meltdown. They're fighting. They're infighting over at MSNBC. You know, and you've got Whoopi that's going, oh, don't call Joe Biden a liar. Guess what?
Well,
he's a liar. But
I got that clip. Whoopi Goldberg.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why we play these things because she's about as dumb as a box of rocks. I'm sorry. This lady, maybe she's a good actress.
I'm
but
sorry, a box of rocks is smarter.
Yeah, probably. Listen.
Two things, because I respect it as a parent. I understand why he would do it, but I wonder to understand why lie about it for so long.
I'd stop calling it a lie.
Okay, why repeatedly say you're not going to and you do? And secondarily, for the part of this country, half of it that doesn't support Biden, doesn't know him personally, doesn't get to have phone calls, and they're just looking at a system that seems like it only benefits the people who are in power.
I'm going to say,
what precedent does that set?
Well, here's what it sets. It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug problem, who knew what he was doing, who clearly stood and said, I can do this. And he did it. So I think, for many, many reasons, this is very different than any other situation that we have ever dealt with.
Man, I wouldn't want her ordering my pizza. Okay, that she is. But they give these people a platform, and because they have this platform, Bill, they actually think that their words mean something, and it doesn't.
A lot of these Democratic elites, they go, well, these guys don't have passports, they haven't traveled, then they're uneducated. I've traveled. I have a passport. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a Rhodes Scholar. I'm the world's smartest guy. I think I'm an average guy. But you know what? I'm smarter than she is. Not only book smarter than she is. I would take her to task on it. But I'm street smarter than she is, too. She's got this liberal elitist thing, which is kind of weird. But she and a lot of these Democrats do. Oh, they're just dumb because they don't see it the way I do. Well, that's not democracy, friends. If you don't get your way, you're going to have a hissy fit. Is that what it's all about? But the Democrats are coming undone, as I was saying before. You've got the Democratic National Committee now wanting to do a complete audit of Kamala Harris and her campaign because people became millionaires out of it. She blew through $1.5 billion, ended up $20 million in debt. And you don't want to call Joe a liar? The whole damn system on that side has been lying to the American people, and we know it.
It's amazing. They don't realize, Bill, I truly believe this. They don't realize they lost. They lost the election. It was a rejection of all the nonsense that they've spewed over the last 4 years on The View, on MSNBC, on CNN, and they're still, to this day, acting like they won. They're acting like their philosophy is the majority, and everything else is wrong, which is BS. I mean, the country said with a loud voice, no to liberalism, no to the socialistic approach to our borders, to our economy. No, no, no. I mean, Kamala came out and she cackled and smiled, and she had a chunk of people who were on her side, but it wasn't enough to win the election. I think the popular vote, President Trump won by what, 4 or 5 million votes? That's a lot of votes.
I think he won by more than that. I don't think we actually have the true numbers. I think what they did is they were stacking it, and they realized that the media was lying. She never had the numbers, and we were even scared of it, which probably caused us to hunker down even more and really go. And, you can't sit there and tell me that an after survey says, 96% of the people approve of Trump and 4% don't. Wait, these are people that voted both Democrat and Republican saying that. So if the sum of those is 96%, even if it was 90%, that tells you that vote number that's out there, and it took so long to get it, was really a stretch because they knew they lost. They just didn't want it to be so bad. And they needed to see if they could steal some
They're still
seats.
trying to cure. They're still trying to cure some elections. some.
They've always done this. You go back to look at all the elections, they always go back, and it's a Democrat that flips the seat, and it's, these last-minute votes. Now, I'm sorry. This defies the law of logic. Think about it. They are stealing votes. They have done it for a long, long time, but people are starting to go, wait a damn minute now.
I was listening about a representative race. I can't tell you where, but I was on the news last night where the victory was like 100 votes, and suddenly they came up with they literally lost like 120 votes. Suddenly they lost 120 votes, and they were all votes that counted towards the winner, which means that it threw the whole contest into confusion. And now they're going to have to do a revote. I saw this on Newsmax last night. Judge Napolitano was talking about it. And, this is the kind of stuff that's happening, and it's not being done, dare I say, by Republicans. It's being done by the Democratic side. If they can do anything, they can adjust. I use that term loosely. They can adjust races, elections. Whereas, Republicans, they just sit in the sideline. Hey, what do we do now? I mean, you have to applaud the Democrats for one thing. They're tenacious. They don't give up. As a matter of fact, they were trying to sell us after this election bill that it wasn't a mandate. No, it really wasn't. That was what they were trying to sell us. Mind you, we just said he won the popular vote and the Electoral College, and yet after the dust settled a little bit, the Democrats jumped right in and said, well, wait a second. No. That was not a mandate. It was a squeaker. No, it was a mandate.
Yeah, well, I watched the elections. Look, I watched them back in 2020, and I was up at 1:30 in the morning, and I saw Trump lose several 100,000 votes. They were just erased right off the screen.
Yep.
And Biden got this dump. I'm sorry, but that, and I think there's still some film out there of that exactly
There was
happening.
a spike, wasn't it? Remember, it was like they had a graph on TV, and it was Trump was in the lead, and it was like 1:30 in the morning. Suddenly it went boom, like an audio spike on a VU meter. It just, all of a sudden Joe was the leader, and it was like by 700,000 votes. It was like somebody dumped a lot of ballots at one time, and they were counted at one time, and no one
but
talked.
what they did is they sucked out votes right away to compensate for it.
Yep.
And that's where the problem was, because people saw it, because they had that count number there live. They kind of did it a little bit different this year, but it was so overwhelming they couldn't keep up with it. So, but they're still trying to do it. They always have those votes in reserve to sit there and go, all right, look, he's got 100% vote. Well, let's add 55% in, and let's take out 55% of his. Oh, we won. Imagine that.
Do you think that paper ballots, going to paper ballots again, is going to make a difference? Do you think that will, you hear President Trump keep shouting paper ballots and we do it in one night, which I think is great, but is that the solution?
Well, the thing about paper ballots is you can make up paper ballots.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. It's the paper ballots that have been manufactured that are brought in after the fact. In other words,
from
the
like
voting,
that printing plant in Long Island. Yeah.
The voting starts at 7 a.m. It ends at 8 p.m. If you don't vote, and even if you have, there's more of you than them, and you don't get out and vote, well, then you lost. And it's that simple. It's to get out the vote. What they've done is they've added time on the clock, and that gives them time to steal.
Yeah.
You've got to keep the integrity and the honesty into it. And I don't know how any other way that you can sit there and reform this thing unless there's a way to, just like you sign into your phone with your picture or your fingerprint or some kind of biomechanism, maybe it's that way and something that, but see, then there's dead people, and they have all those records.
Well, the thing is, I get what Trump is saying is, look at we know there's going to be a certain amount of cheating with the ballots. Yes, there have been historically over the past, several decades. But maybe what he's saying is there's a new form of cheating, which is the computer, and that's hard to beat because the computer can instantaneously tally up what it needs to stay ahead. And that's what a computer can do. If you don't know the power of a computer, may I suggest that you look into artificial intelligence, and you'll find out just how quickly computers really think. They can do stuff that takes a human being hours. They can do it in a matter of seconds. That's what they can do with computers.
A computer can sit there and control the destiny and the outcome of mankind on this planet. And and that's the big fear. Even Elon Musk is going, you know what? I'm a computer guy, but this stuff is getting a little bit out of hand. And a lot of these computers that are, free think and do everything, are you going to be sad when I'm gone? No. It's not. It's going to go on. It's a program.
Computers can, they can do just about anything nowadays.
They can repair themselves.
Yes.
They can improve themselves.
Exactly. And they can decide whether or not to launch or not to launch. They can probably decide where to aim the missiles. We are putting ourselves in a very precarious situation. I played, we played a cut from a gentleman, I guess about a week ago, maybe a little longer. The guy was and I can't think of his name now, but the guy was the father of AI. Mm-hmm. And he started, working on it back in 1974 when computers were slow. And they knew back then that computers would one day be lightning fast. So they were working under the premise that eventually technology would catch up with their plans, with their ideas. And it did. And then as the technology grew and as they became, AI became more of a reality, he started to have questions about what the hell he was doing. And maybe it wasn't such a good thing. And so now he's a guy who's out there and he's throwing, he's telling us all to be cautious about AI because AI may take over. AI will start to, like you said, start to repair itself, start to think for itself, start to improve itself, and all of a sudden, humans are subservient to the machines that they built, which is a pretty scary thought.
Yeah. It's amazing what computers can do. And if you're wondering what the most destructive thing that man has ever created, it's probably not the nuclear bomb. It's probably AI.
Yep. Speaking of, there's so much to talk about today, and we are a little bit of, off the beaten path here. We were talking about the pardon. I wanted to play something for you. It wasn't long ago when Karine Jean-Pierre was vehemently telling the press that there would be no pardons. Listen.
From a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no. I just answered.
The president would not pardon or commute sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying it would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
His son, Hunter, is also up for being sentenced next month. Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
President Biden says that he's not going to pardon his son, Hunter. Is he going to ask Donald Trump to do that?
I don't have anything else to share about that. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole on this. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question.
Yes, I've been very clear. That's the White House press liar, Karine Jean-Pierre, because yesterday she said this.
You have said repeatedly yourself since the election, the president has said for months, no pardon was coming. I wanted to ask you, could those statements now be seen as lies from the American people? Is there really a credibility issue here given now this announcement?
First of all, one of the things that the president always believes is to be truthful to the American people. That is something that he always truly believes. And if you see the end of his, I assume that you've read his statement, and you look at the end of that statement, and he actually says that in the first line in the last paragraph, and respects the thinking and how the American people will actually see this in his decision making. And I would encourage everyone to read in full the president's statement. I think he lays out his thought process. He lays out how he came to this decision. He came to this decision this weekend. So let's be very clear about that. He says it himself. It's in his voice. He said he came to this decision this weekend. And he said he wrestled with this. And because he believes in the justice system, but he also believes that the war politics infected the process and led to a miscarriage of justice.
If you're wondering where that was recorded on Air Force One while it was in flight, and that's why the noise in the background. But she has no problem reversing, doing a 180 on her lie. Just whatever she has to say, she'll say. You can't trust people who are. I mean, she has really done a disservice to the White House press secretary. The press secretaries, for the most part, were supposed to be the people who told the story honestly to the press so that the American public would know what's happening honestly. She wasn't that kind of person. She was out there, a partisan who was saying whatever she had to say to please her boss, I find it amazing. I hope she has her resume together. I don't know whether it'll do her much good. I don't know what qualifications she has. I guess there'll be some Democrat who will hire her. No, I take that back. She'll probably be hired by MSNBC and given a show and paid several $1 million a year.
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. If they do indeed go after a lot of these snake oil salesmen and Biden and his crime family and Schiff and Schumer and Pelosi and everyone, she has been peddling propaganda and lies. So she is just as guilty, and she needs to go down with him, because if you were a press secretary and you knew something was a bold-faced, flat-out lie, would you just sit there and regurgitate it, or would you sit there and try to shield yourself in
I wouldn't do the job.
Yeah, well,
if I knew that I was supposed to stand up in front of the world and lie for this administration,
then you should go.
I should go. And here's the other thing: we don't know whether there are people who did just that. There might have been, this position may have been offered to other people, and they said no, we can't do that. But
everybody, we knew who Joe was. The Democrats knew who Joe was, and they ran him anyway.
Yeah.
He was a joke. He was a liar. He's been a liar all his life. He admittedly said he was lying back in '88, and yet, the media sold him to them.
People aren't saying this, but, it was announced on Saturday that Kash Patel was going to be the head of the FBI. And right. I find it too much of a coincidence that on Sunday, Biden and his family put this deal together to pardon Hunter, because I know that they know that Kash was coming after him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I find interesting, nobody's really talking about, is that Joe immediately hopped on an airplane and flew off to Africa. And he's gone for a week. Yeah, which is, to me, seems like enough time for the dust to settle from this, because our news cycles over here are very short. Something else will grab our attention in a matter of a couple of days,
Well, they'll manufacture a story to sit there and get the attention to go the other way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of news out there. I didn't bring it here, but there's even proof now that the globalists were trying to, and there still are.
Yeah.
They're trying to get us into a world nuclear war. And why the hell would they want to do that?
Because they're not satisfied with with the fact that a guy like Trump is going to be, but Trump has a lot of power. I was reading a poll yesterday out of England. To our listeners in England, God bless you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you believe that that President Trump is more popular in England than Keir Starmer or whatever his name is, your prime
the
minister?
Prime Minister. So is Elon Musk.
Yes. Elon Musk and Donald
By
Trump.
By the way, this I didn't see this on Gateway. I found this on mainstream news, but that was kind of cool that Elon Musk and Ramaswamy, with Doge, they're looking at daylight savings time going, and a lot of politicians have questioned it over the years. It's supposed to help us out, but it's really it's caused health concerns. We lose money from it, and Trump and that crew, they're going, let's just get rid of this once and for all. And there's even Democrats going, yeah, it's really kind of dumb that we do it. So it's very likely, instead of a token vote, that, come the springtime, when we spring forward, we go into permanent, more sunshine days, and it's that you no longer.
Well, do you know why they did it,
clock.
Bill? Do you know why they did it? This goes back to the late 19th century or early 20th century, during the, quote, Industrial Revolution in the U.S., where we were starting to become an industrial nation, and it was a way to have the workers work longer. They could get up in the morning, it'll be daylight, so they could walk to work. They would have – it was done to benefit the workers so they could be more productive, A lot of kids,
benefit
for example.
The workers or benefit the
Well, it benefited the owners, actually. But,
okay, let's be honest with that. Now, just going forward and staying forward benefits both, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Because there are no conditions anymore, whether it's daylight or dark time. When you get up, we get cars, we got lights, we got everything.
Yeah, I mean, you walk into a factory now, it's you don't know what time of the day it is in a factory because it's well lit. And if you don't look out the window, you don't know what's happening outside. You walk in nowadays. Unfortunately, a lot of it is robotics too. But that's a story for another show. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about today, Bill. Joe's over in, I think he's in Angola. Maybe they'll keep him for the next month and a half or so.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting is that he also has decided to fork over another $725 million of our dollars to the Ukraine. $725 million. This is like a going-away gift from Biden. Do you know what else he's instructed his people to do? If he's allocated money to the Ukraine and to these other places, he has instructed his people to make darn sure that every penny of it is used by the end of his term so that there's none left over that Trump can scoop up and save for the people. This guy is unbelievably, he's blatantly corrupt. I mean, what he's done to our country. Can you tell me what Joe Biden has done that has been good over the last 4 years? I can't think of a damn thing.
Not a damn thing. Now, I have two comments on that, but I'll back up a little bit because I'll look at the Doge. And Elon Musk, the reason that Biden wants to get that money spent now, he wants it spent before Elon gets in there because it's day one forward that Elon has say on, not what's behind him. Now, with that said, I believe in Angola too. Biden is pledging these hundreds of millions of dollars, which will lead to billions of dollars for the construction of something for them. All right?
Yeah.
Number one, what is our benefit from it?
Zero.
Number two, let's just say, let's round it out. Let's just say we're going to give them $500 million.
Right.
Is that all going to go to them, or is that going to go into some congressmen and senators and presidents' pockets? Or people that they have made favors to?
Well, based upon what we've heard, a lot of the money that goes to the Ukraine ends up back here. So
in a politician's pocket.
Yes.
It's a way that they launder money. So when we do these projects, you got to take a look at this. When we do these, that's great. That's such a beautiful thing to be doing. Really? You're making some fat cat and, the bureaucracy richer. And the thing that, it didn't get done. Oh, man, I thought that was enough. We got to give them more money. How stupid are you? We got to quit giving away our money.
In the meantime, Bill, they haven't done a damn thing to our roads to make them better.
Yeah,
our highway systems.
Infrastructure.
Right. I mean, our railroad systems they're always complaining about, the U.S. trains are nowhere near as good as the European train. That's because Europe put some money into their trains.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to, I'm a pro-union guy, but I also believe that there's nepotism and things that go on in some unions. Like I sit there and see road work, highway work, it's perpetual. I know a guy that does the stuff. He goes, yeah, we just do what we got to do. I'm going like, oh, so how often do you go back to redo stuff that you did? Oh, every year and a half. Because they're not building it to the standards that would last a long time. Look at our roads and look at the German Autobahn.
Yeah. Well, they could change that, Bill. They could give them incentives. They could say, look, the goal is to get this completed in 3 months. But if you get it done properly in 2 months, you as a company will make even more money, a little more money. You'll get a bonus.
The company's got to be held responsible for what they get a bonus, but they got to be held responsible for what they do. In other words, we can't guarantee, the weather around here.
That's it.
Well, like Pennsylvania is a prime example.
Well, Bill,
Pennsylvania's
I know there's a little bit of a delay this morning.
Yeah,
we apologize for that.
When you hear us kind of, it's because there's a lag between that we can't control no matter how clean our computers are. The lag is in between. But I was going to say, you're in Pennsylvania. You're driving along, and any Pennsylvanian will know, damn, there's potholes everywhere. And they just had this road, paved. And the politicians in Harrisburg go, well, those winters here in Pennsylvania are worse than they are anywhere else. But you cross the state line. I mean, you cross that state line. You're in West Virginia.
Or New York.
West Virginia. Or you're in Ohio.
Yep.
Again, great roads. What the hell is the diff? Pennsylvania. Are the workers stupid?
No, it's funny.
The weather is worse there than anywhere else on the planet?
I used to work in New York State.
Or are there corrupt politicians?
I used to work in New York State, and I would come down from New York, and the roads were great in New York. And New York has, they have Buffalo, they have Rochester. These are in snow belts. They get more bad winter weather than we do here. And I would come down the New York Thruway and come down along the Lake Erie. The roads would be great. As soon as I would hit PA, it was like my car went into some kind of an obstacle course. All of a sudden, it was pothole after pothole. It was unbelievable, and it hasn't changed. But I was telling you about bonuses. The bonus thing is a great idea. Conversely, if the deadline is 3 months and they can't finish it for 4.5 months, there should be a penalty. There should be a bonus for getting it done ahead of time, and a penalty for not getting it done on time. There should be incentives.
Be guaranteed to the work.
Yeah. There should be incentives.
Let me ask you this, because the job always goes to the lowest bidder, not the person that's going to do the job right. It goes to the lowest bidder. That should tell you something there. Now, I'm talking about Pennsylvania, but I'm sure it's that way everywhere. Would it surprise you that in Pennsylvania, one of the guys that has the Interstate 81 and some of the interstates that does it. The crew is from all over the place, and he is from Mississippi.
No, it doesn't surprise me. He Mississippi. You gotta love it. No, there has to be a change at how they do these things. They have got to start to reevaluate how they hand out all these bids. Just the mere fact that they give it to the lowest bidder, it's not always a good thing. You want the best guy to do the job, the guy who's going to bring it in. A guy may bid it on a project, say, let's say it's going to cost $5 million to do this, and you pick him because everyone else was higher than $5 million, right? But then he has all these different things in there that says, well, if I can't bring it on time, if the weather doesn't cooperate, it ends up costing, in the long run, $10 million from the lowest bidder. because they have all these clauses and these agreements. Now they've got to reevaluate the entire system. I don't know how President Trump is going to fix all that he has to fix in our federal government because he's only got 4 more years. And if he doesn't win the midterms, he's only got 2 years.
He's going to have to divide and prioritize because there's a lot of things he's got to do. There's things he's promised that he's going to get done, and I believe he's going to probably get them all done. The other thing he's got to do is set the party up for 2 years from now for the Congress, Senate seats that'll be coming up. He's got to set us up for that, and the next election. Now, would you believe out there in the wings, little socialist AOC thinks she's going to run for president in 2028? Yeah. I think that's a total shift of the Democratic Party. But then again, too, the steel is in place. Who the hell knows? So there's a lot of work that's got to be done.
Yeah. Another interesting, Peter Ducey had an interesting little side note that Peter Ducey is a reporter for Fox.
Right.
He was talking about, Trudeau was in town. He was down in Mar-a-Lago having dinner with President Trump, talking about this thing called tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll let Ducey explain. Listen.
We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau could become its governor.
That must have gone over like a pregnant pole vaulter. Canada can become the 51st state, and Trudeau can be the governor. But, I'll bet you for a second Trudeau thought, that might not be a bad idea.
Well, boy, you know what? Actually, to be honest, it would probably behoove both the countries to come to some kind of, merger into, that.
Would it be, now the question is, if Canada became would it be one of our states, or would it be several of our states? Yeah,
it would be annexed into the Americas.
Yeah.
It would be part of the Americas.
You'd see you'd see British Columbia as a state. You'd see maybe Ontario as a state.
Montreal, Toronto. Yeah,
well, those are cities, so you can't. But I mean,
cities. Yeah,
you'd have regions. It would be interesting, but I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon because they seem to like their independence. Although.
What independence?
Well, they do rely in large part, they rely on our defense too. If somebody attacks Canada, there's always the U.S. is going to be involved in protecting it.
Think about this: how close would that put us in our silos to Russia?
What do you mean if somebody?
If Canada became part of the U.S.,
right?
Because if Russia was going to march troops over, they'd come right over the top of the globe down through Canada in. But if that's our land there, we would be closer to.
You know what's interesting? A lot of people don't realize this, but Alaska at one time was part of Russia.
Yes, it was.
People don't realize. A lot of people, what? Yeah, Alaska was part of Russia,
and we bought it.
Yep.
They've been wanting to. Russia's been going. We'd like to nullify that deal and buy it back.
I know.
Yeah. Good luck on that one, there, buddy.
Yeah, ain't going to happen anytime soon. President Trump. He's not in office yet, but Mexico's president broke up 2 migrant caravans headed to the United States after President Trump threatened tariff increases against Mexico. President Trump last Monday evening announced a 25% tariff on all products from Mexico and Canada until the illegal alien invasion is stopped. Well, 2 major caravans stopped. You know those caravans were mostly military-age males?
Yeah, and they, the lefties out there try to downplay it. Well, there could be some bad folks in there. Could be. Well, there are.
Yeah.
And you know what? Since we don't know what's in it or not, I mean, you got a carton of milk. It could be contaminated. You're going to take a swig out of it first? Go ahead. Be my guest.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it because you're going, well, it could be contaminated. Do we let these people come across the border freely and unvetted, or do they need to go through the proper process? You want to be in the United States, that's fine. We welcome you. There's a process, and not everybody may get to come to the United States.
You know, I saw a report from a reporter who went down to, the lower portion of Mexico and parts of Central America, and he visited these migrant camps. You know, they don't make this trip in one day, folks. It takes them a while. Some of these people are marching for a long time. But he went to one camp of South American and Central American migrants, and he says it was basically a community. People, you know, moms and kids and some fathers and stuff. And he said it was they were welcoming. He was surprised. Then he went to a camp down the road, which was the Chinese camp. You know, a lot of Chinese are coming across the border.
Right, and why?
And he said it was like going into a military camp. They were organized. They seemed to have almost like a rank. They didn't dress in uniforms, but everybody kind of knew their place and how to present themselves. And he said it was far more organized than he had expected. So these are the type of people who've come into our country. I was listening to another podcast last night, and a guy said, you know, you can expect some violence to happen in mid-December in the U.S. I don't know where he got his information from, but he seemed quite positive that in the middle of December, unrest was going to start in this country. And we can expect it, right on through the inauguration.
Well, everybody's waiting for the other shoe to fall, and if it starts, it'll go through the inauguration and beyond. And I think that these whack job liberals that are out there, I mean, I'm talking the media liberals and some of the people around there, and you know, they make a lot of noise for apparently a small crowd, but they will get out there and pick up their clubs and everything. And the one thing that these people that are die-hard leftists, they want their way and no other way.
Yeah.
And they are willing not only to, you know, you think, well, they don't want to be my friend. That's fine. They just as soon kill you because they have said as much.
It's amazing. They're the side of peace. You know, all we are saying is give peace a chance, you know. Yeah, right. And then they pick up a club and smack you, you know.
Anyway. You know, it's crazy, you know, what is going on out there. You know, it's not a racial thing or anything like that. I mean, because, you know, they're idiots that come in all colors of the world.
You know, Mike Davis.
White, black, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter.
Mike Davis is he's a contributor to a lot of these conservative networks like Fox and Newsmax. And he had a comment about Kash Patel. He had a suggestion to the rhinos who were thinking about trying to put a roadblock up in front of the nomination of Kash Patel. Back off. Here's what he said.
And I would say this to these 53 Senate Republicans. I want you to remember this, that your job as a senator is to vote to confirm President Trump's qualified cabinet picks along with other senior executive branch appointees. The president doesn't get to pick your Senate staff and you don't get to pick his, right? You need to make sure that these nominees are qualified. Kash Patel is clearly qualified. He has been a public defender, a national security prosecutor. He got awards from the Obama Justice Department for his national security prosecution. He was a top official in the House Intel Committee. He was a top official on the White House National Security Council. He was a top official in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. He was the Chief of Staff in the Department of Defense. He is a competent loyalist who's going to go in to the FBI on behalf of President Trump, who got a mandate for change from the American people, all 7 swing states, 312 electoral votes, to bring serious reforms, bold reforms to the FBI. Kash is the man to do that. He is qualified. You need to vote to confirm all qualified executive branch top officials including cash, unless you can point to clear and convincing evidence that they're disqualified because of their personal misconduct. You're not going to be able to do that with cash. We don't have a Me Too presumption of guilt with any of these picks, including Pete Hegseth. So if you think that he's done something wrong, come forward with clear and convincing evidence. We don't have Christine Blasey Ford nonsense. We don't have the presumption of guilt. We got rid of that with Kavanaugh. You're welcome, America, from Mike Davis. And we're not going to play these games. And so if these picks are qualified, Senate Republicans must vote to confirm it. I'm going to tell your audience, go to article3project.org, article number 3project.org, and take action. One of the key action items is to confirm cash to the FBI. Light up both of your home state senators, call their offices, light them up on social media, send them emails, let them know. Look, Cash just signed up for X yesterday. He already has almost 600,000 followers. That tells you what kind of a groundswell of support Cash Patel has. And so I hope these 53 Senate Republicans understand that this is a red line. If they don't vote to confirm this highly qualified FBI director nominee, they're going to face the political wrath of the Article 3 project.
I think what he said about, you don't get a chance, the president doesn't pick your staff, don't pick his, which I think is true. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's going to run into a lot of roadblocks in these nominations, or are they going to sail through?
Well, I think he's going to run into roadblocks because the left media, which is still intact, is out there, spewing their babble. And you got, these Democrats out there going, no, you don't want Cash Patel. But they want to put forward, their status quo.
Yes.
Because they know the changes are going to come sitting on their porch, and they don't want you into their business, which has been very corrupt.
Yeah.
Why would they oppose these people that have credentials? Unless, of course, they got something to hide.
I think Cash Patel would be exactly what the American people voted for. They voted for change. They voted for a cleaning up of the corruption. They voted for all these things, and I think that Patel is a guy who's going to go into the FBI, and he's going to clean house. That doesn't mean he's going to fire everybody, but when you hear the term "clean house," that's to take out the trash, get rid of all the waste and the corruption, and get it back to what it was supposed to be. The FBI initially was put together by J. Edgar Hoover, and he was corrupt. He was corrupt. So probably for the longest time in its history, the FBI was a corrupt organization. I mean, they did a lot of good things, but it was run by a guy who pretended to be one thing, and he was definitely not that. He had more files on people in Washington than anybody in Washington. He had, if you were having an affair and you were a senator, he had a file on it. If you were a representative and you were dating your somebody in Washington that you shouldn't have been dating, he knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would use those things to get things done. He would actually blackmail these different people in power and say, look, do this way, or else, we're going to release this and you'll never get elected again, or worse. That was J. Edgar Hoover. Now, there have probably been some good FBI directors over the course of years, but boy, in recent years, we sure haven't had very many good ones. James Comey, no. Christopher Wray, no. These are guys who were, they were working for the deep state. They were doing how can you get up, for example, let's look at Comey for a second. How can you get up in front of the world like he did, in front of the world, and say, these are the reasons why Hillary Clinton committed crimes. This is what we found out that she did. They were crimes. They were punishable. And after he did this whole litany of reasons why she should be in jail, he turned to the cameras and said, but we're not going to put her in jail. I mean, tell me that's not corrupt. That's a slap in the face. This is Washington. The same kind of arrogance that he had then, Biden had with this pardon with his son. The same kind of Washington elitism, like, yes, we know she did this, and this, but we're not going to punish her because we don't have to and we don't want to, and that's it. And Biden says, yeah, Joe, Hunter did this, and this. Maybe. We're not really admitting it, but if he did it, we're going to pardon him on all those things.
Well, I have a couple of 3 questions for you.
Yeah.
As you talked about Hillary, if Hillary were to go down, do you think that she would get mad and lash out and take some people down with her?
Oh,
right.
Yes. Well, nothing's worse than a woman scorned. Is that? Yeah. I don't.
So
think
why is she so quiet right now?
Well, some people think she's packing her bags. That she's actually looking at to move. Like, did you hear, by the way, about Ellen DeGeneres? Before I forget.
Oh, yeah, she's already said she's out of here. She's going to Britain, I believe.
But did you hear what she bought a 43-acre farm in England? Apparently, it's a gorgeous piece of property, beautiful home. She moved in, and the place flooded. He had a major
Too
flood.
bad.
It was like God must have. Oh yeah, you think you can get away from me? Not so much.
Well, I don't wish bad luck on anyone, but the simple fact was she took her political pride that she thought, I didn't get what I wanted, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
You're not going to get what you want there. And obviously, there were some higher powers that intervened to say, gotcha.
But we're assuming that she left because of the election. And there's another theory that might be that people are leaving because...
P. Diddy?
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying she was involved with that whole thing. Maybe that was not something she was involved with. But there are other people who are sweating bullets in Hollywood.
The interesting thing is she had the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Right.
And I used to watch it. I knew she was gay. I knew that. But, no biggie. She had that show. But then when she came out of the closet on the show, that was it for CBS. But that was before Hollywood really revealed itself. And they thought it was the end of her. But she came back because Hollywood finally said, screw it. We're all kind of perverted here. Let's just, we know we got a casting couch. And, the casting couch, quite honestly, was not always a heterosexual casting couch. It was gay, it was woke, it was perverted. It was twisted and demented.
It was a couch that knew no boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And P. Diddy was one of the big players, but he's not the only player in that. But that list, what's his name? The kid there used to be, I think, on Happy Days or whatever his name, Scott Baio.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
he read a list. I saw that.
Yeah. He did the list, and that's a YouTube thing. And, the comment from somebody, well, he's doing that to get attention. He's got nothing else. I said, no, actually, he's an older guy. He looks young. It's in his genes, but he's done a lot of things, but he made a lot of money. And Hollywood has kind of dissed him because he wouldn't play the game. So he's got nothing to lose.
Right.
And, because he's already set and he's not going to gain anything from Hollywood. So, why not sit there and go, hey, you screwed me. Well, let's see who's on the guest list of P. Diddy today. And like Ellen DeGeneres is there. Tom Hanks is there. The litany of people goes on and on, people that you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I know.
So you ought to Google it and, watch it on YouTube, and your jaw might drop because if you're following the P. Diddy story, what went on there was not good. And when you hear the list, you'll go.
I think that maybe that's something. Maybe we'll play it tomorrow if I can find it. We'll play the list just so that people will know what you're talking about if they haven't seen it. But I would imagine you can just do a search on Google, Scott Baio Diddy list, and maybe you'll see it there. And he just reads it. He didn't without commentary. He just reads the names of people he says were there. Now, people may say, well, how does he know? Well, the guy worked. He grew up in Hollywood.
No, how he knows if my information is right, there was investigations. And so this was part of the investigation that, was the list that they got, in their going after Diddy, of the people that were there. This was in the authorities' hands. He got a copy of it. So it is the official list.
Wow. Well, President Trump has said that a lot of these lists, like the Epstein list, which we've never seen, and probably the Diddy list, they're probably going to be made public.
Well, I would think the Epstein list is out there because Epstein kept a record of everyone because, when you do something like that, you want to know the names of people that owe you favors.
Yep, that's true.
Because you blackmail them with that piece of information. So I am sure somewhere out there in somebody's file cabinet is the list of Epstein. But I would also imagine there are people out there that they find out you got the list and you're going to do something with it. Your life is in danger with that. I think Scott Baio, the Diddy list is dangerous to have, but I think because of who he is, where he sits, he's going, I got nothing to lose. Not going to gain anything. Let's throw it out there.
Got to get to this story before we wrap today's show up. Have you been following what's happening with Rudy Giuliani?
Yeah, I have a little bit, and I know that he's not going down without a fight.
Yeah, but he's destitute. I
know that.
They've taken everything from the guy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't own a car. He doesn't own his apartment. He's lost all of his valuables. All of it has been taken over by the court. The guy is stuck. I don't know. Does he? I know he has a podcast still, and I would imagine he's getting donations from people to keep him afloat. But the guy is just stuck. This is a guy who was America's mayor during 9/11. He was rock solid, and he was there for not only New York but for our country. And
the left don't care.
The left tore him a new one. This guy, if I have the story right, he went down to defend President Trump in Georgia and talked about these people who he felt were cheating in the elections. And the court decided that they were not guilty. The people that he had claimed were cheating in the election. These people who were
videotape showed they were.
I know that. I know what you're talking about. But the court said no, and they found for those people, those election voter workers, and
2 ladies, I believe. Yeah,
they didn't win. And talk about the punishment not fitting the crime. They weren't killed. They weren't assaulted. They weren't punished in any physical way. They were embarrassed. They were slighted. Maybe their reputation was tarnished. But so what did they win? They won Rudy Giuliani's entire fortune. Whatever he had is gone because of this court decision. I don't understand how it can stand. I do not understand how it can stand, but they've doubled down on getting the stuff from Rudy. The court, there are a lot of evil people who wear robes, and a lot of evil people who are really not, they're not there for the justice. They're there to fulfill a political purpose, okay? And so we're in a situation right now, Rudy's in a situation where he has nothing. But I want to tell you this little story. Joe Camerata is his lawyer, a young guy, smart young lawyer. And I want to give you a little background on this. From what I understand, this is off the top of my head. Joe Camerata, I believe, lost his father in 9/11. He was just a child when this happened. And Rudy was the mayor, and Rudy actually visited Joe, and they created a bond of some kind of relationship, which didn't fade away. Rudy kept an eye on Joe as Joe was growing up. They became friends, and Rudy wrote the recommendations for college, and then I guess he wrote recommendations for law school. And then Rudy became, and I guess Joe became a pretty good lawyer, pretty successful lawyer. Cut to now, I guess Joe is taking over the case, and he's going to be, I guess he is right now, defending Rudy. And, well, this is Joe Camerata talking about Rudy's case.
Today you were announcing that you're taking on this case for Rudy, and you're going to fight as hard as you can for Rudy Giuliani and make sure that there's justice for him, because everybody else has had redemption. But I say, what about Rudy? Rudy's the one who got kind of screwed the hardest.
Rudy definitely got screwed the hardest with this $148 million judgment. The penalty does not fit the allegations. It's punitive in nature. There is no way that that judgment should be that kind of excessive judgment. And that's what I think is going to take place in the appellate court. I think that that's going to be reduced.
Okay. What was today about?
Today was about reintroducing the people to Rudy and introducing him to his legal team that will not relent. We're not going to relent. We're standing in front of a building that employs 850 to 1,000 attorneys worldwide, 8 to 10 attorneys working on this file. And I am not going to let them trample on the rights of Mayor Giuliani. My client will be well protected if this is the last thing that I do. We will not back down.
The story you told was very powerful, how Rudy Giuliani helped you, and now you want to help him with his case. So you were a first responder on 9/11, and Rudy was there for your family. Can you tell me a little bit more about that story?
Sure. So I was a 24-year-old police officer that day, and my brother Michael was a 22-year-old rookie firefighter, only on the job 9 weeks in Ladder Company 11. When the towers got hit, my brother and I responded. Unfortunately, he didn't make it out. I did. Rudy Giuliani was there for my family. Came to my brother's memorial and made a commitment to my family at that memorial. If we ever need anything, do not hesitate to reach out. Shook my hand and reiterated it. And I mean what I said. If there's anything you ever need, don't hesitate to reach out. Shortly thereafter, in 2002, I believe is around the 1-year anniversary, the Little League World Series enshrined Rudy Giuliani and my brother Michael posthumously into the Little League Hall of Excellence. And the chief requirements are not only do you have to play Little League baseball, but you have to exhibit courage, character, and loyalty, and demonstrate it at such a high level that other Little Leaguers and Americans would aspire to be like you. And that's the type of person Rudy is. So throughout the years, he inspired me to become an attorney. And when I was applying to law school, I said, I'm going to take him to task on what he said. I'm going to see if he would give me a letter of recommendation to law school, because he inspired me. And he had me up to his office, and he did just that. He gave me the letter. A few short weeks after, my mom passed away. And I received a letter in the mail from Mayor Giuliani expressing his condolences of the loss of my mom. It was a typewritten letter where he took, it was addressed Mr. Camerata, and he personalized it by crossing off Mr. Camerata in purple ink, the color of mourning, and wrote Joe, and expressed his condolences. I became an attorney. He was there for the darkest time for my family and for me, and I intend to be here for his darkest time. And I call on all Americans, Democrat, Republican, no matter what your background is, to stand up for someone who has stood up for us so many times. He has stood up against the evils that have taken place countless times. First as a U.S. attorney, then as the mayor of the city, then as a patriot to this country to date. And we cannot abandon him. What's taking place today is an injustice. That $148 million judgment is unconstitutional and unjust, and above all, un-American.
Question, do you think that with President Trump in office now, Rudy Giuliani's luck will turn?
I think Rudy Giuliani's luck's turning already. I think the American people from the election till date have showed us that his luck is turning. Make no mistake, President Trump didn't get elected with just a Republican vote. People have spoken. Democrat, Republican, independent, unregistered, getting registered to go out and vote, came out and voted. And that's why President Trump is going to be the 47th president. He's the same Rudy he was in the 90s and the 80s when he was fighting for justice. He's no different today. He's the same legal mind, and many private conversations and consultations with him, he's just as strong and powerful as he was, that I have seen on documentaries and throughout the years, and my personal experience as him as an attorney.
Thank you so much. God bless you for what you're doing for Rudy.
That's Joe Camerata, and I had it wrong. Okay, he was 24 at the time, and a police officer,
Right.
and his younger brother, who was 2 years younger, was killed when the buildings fell. And he said he got out, his younger brother didn't. But the story basically was what I said it was. He stayed with the family. Mayor Giuliani did, and he supported them along the way. And it's interesting now how it's turned, and now the younger man is taking care of Rudy. What I've never understood, Bill, is that I grew up in a legal family. My dad was a lawyer, and there were certain things that lawyers could do that was never called into question. When Rudy went down to Georgia, he was representing President Trump and representing the belief that there was corruption in the voting system, and he was trying to rectify it as an attorney. He did that, and a number of other people did this too. And this was the first time that they were punished by this. They were punished for being a lawyer. I mean, for going down and representing their client. Rudy was punished for it, and other people. The federal government, the Department of, quote, Justice, yeah, right. The Department of Justice brought charges. And they were indicting people, indicting lawyers for making presentations to the court. I didn't, and I'm not a lawyer, obviously. I'm a reformed disc jockey, but I mean, you would have thought that there would have been a certain immunity because this is what their job is. Their job is to go into court, sometimes to represent a cause that is not very popular, but they believe they're doing the right thing.
All right. You sit there and you're prosecuting, and you see a video of two people that obviously shows them doing something they're not. Now, you're not allowed to sit there and say that they are doing something?
Well, that court said no, you're not supposed to, Bill.
Well, then you know what? Everybody that's in prison for murder, rape, robbing a bank, let them go.
If there's video of them doing it, don't rely on it because it means nothing.
It means nothing. That means the conviction means nothing. The accusers now should be all brought in shackles and locked up because that is the democratic justice system. It is not about what's right. It's about revenge for their party because they want to do certain things a certain way. And that's just the way it is.
Bill,
there's another case in point of something like that that's going on right now. You look at Elon Musk and you look at Tesla. Now, there's no denying that he made Tesla what it is.
Right.
His shares of stock alone are worth $150 billion. Well, that's not the worth of the company. It's way more than that. All right? So his deal for his salary was $56 million. But a judge down in Delaware, a Democratic judge, what's her name? I've got it here somewhere. I probably didn't write it down. But either way, this young lady, she's like 45 or something like that, appointed when Joe Biden got in. And she sat there and said, not in my court, that he doesn't get that money. So because Tesla's incorporated or was incorporated in Delaware, and he said, the hell with this. He took it and reincorporated in Texas and went back and challenged. And she goes, oh, no, the ruling still stands because the infraction happened here. You don't get your money. Not here.
Yeah.
And now why would she do that unless she's punishing him?
Of course she is.
With his own money.
This is how the left works. The left doesn't. The left is. They're spiteful and vindictive. They want not to. They want to hurt Elon Musk. What business is it of this woman what he makes? He's the guy who breathes life into Tesla. It wouldn't exist without Elon Musk and his money and his dream. It just wouldn't exist.
Well, there are shareholders that brought up the case saying, oh, that's too much money. Well, you know what? These shareholders that own big investments in that, these oligarchs that have money, they all live in a different stratosphere. All right. So what I consider is $56 billion a lot of money. I'm going, yeah, that's kind of high. But in that stratosphere, it's really not when you consider how big it is, what it is, and what he did, and what should be his share as, the CEO of the
He's
company.
not going to miss, Bill. He's not going to miss a meal, a house payment. He's not going to miss anything if he doesn't get $56 million. Because,
it's
like
principle now.
Yeah, because like what you said, the guy's worth $100 billion. He's the richest man on the planet. And
he's now there was an interesting statement that they said. They said, yeah, Elon's about $6 billion richer than Trump. And I was like going, they always had Trump at $6 to $10 billion, and even said, yeah, he's really not a billionaire. But that all of a sudden just blew that all out of the water.
Oh, I think Trump now is probably wealthier than he ever has been with all of the things that he has going. I mean, he's the most popular man on the planet. Trump is. I told you about how popular he is in England.
Yeah. And I think though that just accidentally, and maybe that was what the left was trying to do, is show you that, well, we lied about his wealth. He really is worth a lot more. So what? He got there by his own efforts and work. No, we didn't make that money. He didn't donate.
Oh, but the left is
you.
notoriously jealous of people like Musk. They really are. I'm not talking about every Democrat. There's a difference, by the way. If you're new to the program, there are people who are Democrat and believe in the Democrat, party, and that's their business, and that's okay. I mean, I came from a Democrat family. But then there's the leftist, and leftists are close. They're the socialists, and they are by nature spiteful and envious of people who have something. You shouldn't have it. It should be all of ours. The fact that Elon Musk made it, I don't think Elon Musk came from a wealthy family in South Africa. I think he literally was a guy who I guess he designed and built PayPal, and that made him his first wealth. But the guy was smart enough to go on with his ideas. I just look at SpaceX. All right, SpaceX was started in 2004, around then, 2004, 2002, and they were supposed to be private, and they were supposed to be like NASA. And everybody kind of laughed. A private company doing what NASA does? Oh, that'll never work. No, it has surpassed NASA. They can do now stuff SpaceX can that NASA hasn't even dreamed of yet. I mean, catching a rocket when it lands. I mean, having rockets land upright on a platform. They can do that too.
Look, now he's got a rival out there, but Tesla's still there. SpaceX is big. They got all the government contracts.
Are you talking about Bezos's company, Jeff Bezos?
No, I think there's another one out there. But Bezos, too. He's got his. But there's another company out there now that's doing the rockets. And I'm sure the government, they probably got jealous, and they had Biden or the Democrats stayed in. I guarantee they would have found a way to rip SpaceX away from Elon Musk.
Boeing is trying to do it, and they're having problems. You would think that a company like Boeing, who's had 100 years of experience making aircraft, would have the inside rail when it comes to building rockets.
You know what they could do? Just say, you know what, we're for sale. Elon, you want to buy us? He could whip that thing. I think he could whip that thing around. But and back to Giuliani.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair that they say the damage. Even that lawyer sat there and said it doesn't match the crime. Well, wait a minute. There was no crime there, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
It should be appealed. So I think that when this all gets reset, I think in his lifetime that he deserves retribution, and the case.
Do you
has
think
gone
that
away.
Judges who've done stuff like this should pay a penalty for their?
Absolutely. If
me too.
we can prove anybody that we can prove, whether it was a Republican judge doing something dirty, any judge that has done something just to sit there for political smite.
This
that's treason as far as
Marchand in New York and Engron, I think they should have to pay a price. Yeah.
Yeah, because the American people spoke. Just make no mistake about it. They spoke, and it was an overwhelming vote. I got a question, though, for you. Going back to the Hunter pardon.
Yeah.
Does not the way that Biden pardoned Hunter going from 2014 to now, and any perceived crimes, it just is a blanket pardon? All right? There was no insurrection. The news media said there was, but there's not. Yet the January 6ers are locked up. Now, you might sit there and say some of these guys got a little overzealous, but I would tend to say that whatever they did, overzealous, does not fit what's happened to them now. Do they not deserve the 1,500 souls there? Just a blanket pardon.
Well, you know,
Dershowitz
was on Newsmax last night, and you know, Dershowitz is still he still considers himself a Democrat, although I don't know, he has a lot of conservative ideas now, but
he's a patriot. You know, I call Democrats that think, you know,
but
soundly.
He got cut off from going to a lot of Democrat parties too that he misses. But he said if Biden wants to recover his reputation, he said what Biden should do right now is turn around to all of the January 6ers in prison and use the same reasoning that he used on his son to release them and other people like them who have been unjustly in prison, like Tina Peters, is that her name, out in Colorado? I thought to myself, you know, that would look to me to be such an obvious way of whitewashing what he's done that it wouldn't cut the muster. I would say no, he's just doing this to make himself look better, to recover some of his reputation, but he was convinced that if Biden does something like that now, it will soften what he did to Hunter. If you know what I'm saying, it would just, well, I'm getting Hunter off, but I'm also going to release all the January 6ers for the same reason, and other people who've been wrongfully imprisoned for that reason. You know, and I mean, would that mean like Julian Assange? Is Assange still in prison? I think he's still in prison.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah,
I haven't been following his case for a while. So anyway, Bill, I see one more thing. A study suggests the sanctuary city of Denver. You know, that's the mayor of Denver is the guy who said
they're in trouble.
Yeah, they spent $356 million on illegal aliens. How would you like to live in Denver? You know, I'd like to say I feel sorry for you, but you guys voted in the government that you have that has wasted your money.
But you know what? You need to do an audit of where the money went, and I bet you it didn't go to the illegal aliens.
I'll bet you're right. I'll bet you there's some
went
people.
Into the yeah.
You know, by the way, speaking of audits, Bill, they want to do an audit now. The Democrats want to do an audit of Kamala's campaign because they say, some people are saying that a lot of people in her campaign became millionaires, and they don't know how they did it during that campaign.
I have an idea.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the money fairy came to them at their house, you know.
If you have a few extra bucks, you might want to visit rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com, and check out the stuff we have there. We have cups, sweatshirts, T-shirts, baseball hats, and, of course, Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, medium roast and medium decaf roast. It's a delicious coffee. We'd love you to check out our stuff, maybe buy something, because a little tiny portion of everything we sell will come to Jim and Bill, and we can put it into promotion and to help grow the show and make it even bigger than it is right now.
Well, I would say do buy something, not maybe buy something. Otherwise, look, I have connections, you know. They got your address, you know. Guido might show up and say, you're going to buy the coffee. At least buy the shirt. If you don't do that.
I can't promise anything. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't go driving in that car of yours real soon.
Yes, we'll threaten our audience to buy our coffee. That'll go over well. Hey, listen, folks, before we forget, we have Juan, Jose, and their terrific band, The Border Crossers, here one more time.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous. You always do a great job, guys. It sounds so right on all the time. It's amazing. They go back now and they sit in the corner, lower their sombreros, and wait till tomorrow. Anyway, we are just about out of time. Is there anything else, sir, that you want to add before we wrap today's show up?
I was just going to leave you with this thought. It's a headline: ignorant Jane Fonda telling Bill Maher she has no idea what far-left policies are.
Well,
Think about that.
This is the lady who, when she was young, and I will never forgive her for this, but she went to Hanoi, and during the Vietnam War, when a lot of our young men were getting their heads blown off, were stepping on landmines in South Vietnam and going through a lot of torture and pain. She goes to Hanoi and sits on a anti-aircraft gun, and she gives aid and comfort to our enemy. I mean, she should have gone to jail. She should have come home and been arrested for what she did. She's darn lucky that I wasn't president.
and let me tell you something. The guys that went over and served, they didn't start that conflict. They didn't start that war. They were just ordered by their country to go serve.
And by the way,
country.
Jane, if you're listening, I doubt that, but if you're
Screw
listening,
you.
Well, that's Bill. But there are a lot of guys my age who haven't forgotten Jane, really, and I don't think they ever will. You may go on with your socialistic ideas, but there's a lot of people out there who know what you did and why you did it. So,
but you know what? She sits in her little ivory tower with all her money that she made, thanks to Daddy, because I met her once, and, I was at the movie premiere for The Electric Horseman. That was right around that time, but I wasn't impressed, and I wasn't impressed with her acting, before and after, during and after.
I would say that she wasn't really selling her acting when she was an actress. I mean, her whole, it was, she was trying to be a sex symbol. Anyway, my friend, we've gone on and on. We have basically done it for this program. You want to wrap this thing up like you normally do?
I think I shall. Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.